Imagine a landscape so cold that touching bare metal strips the skin off your fingers instantly. It is minus 40 degrees Celsius. The forests of Finland are buried under 6 feet of snow. It is the winter of 1939, and the massive Soviet Red Army is invading. They have tanks, planes, and over 500,000 men. They expect to crush Finland in a matter of weeks. But in the frozen silence of the Kola River, the Russians are not moving forward. They are terrified. They are dying by the hundreds, dropping into the snow without ever hearing a gunshot. There is a ghost in these woods. He wears no scope on his rifle. He carries no map. He is 5'3", a mild-mannered farmer who just wants to be left alone. His name is Simo Häyhä, but to the terrifying Russian army, he is simply known as deadliest the White Death, and he is about to become the deadliest sniper in the history of human warfare. To understand the legend, we have to understand the impossible odds. The Winter War was arguably the most unfair fight in modern history. The Soviet Union had unlimited resources. Finland had almost nothing. Finnish soldiers were often issued nothing but a belt and a cockade to put on their civilian hats. They were outnumbered 100 to 1 in some sectors. But Simo Häyhä didn't care about the odds. He knew the land. He had spent his entire life in these forests, hunting foxes and moose. When the war started, he took his old iron-sighted Mosin-Nagant rifle, wrapped himself in white camouflage, and disappeared into the tree line. He wasn't fighting for glory. He was fighting for his home. What made Simo so terrifying wasn't just his armor, it was his discipline. Most snipers use telescopic scopes to see their targets from a distance. Simo refused. He realized that the glint of the sun reflecting off a glass scope could reveal his position to the enemy. He preferred the iron sights, which forced him to get closer, dangerously close to the Soviet lines. His methods were almost inhuman. He would build hides in the snow, packing the ice down hard so that the recoil of his rifle would unkick up a puff of powder and give him away. He would pour water on the snow in front of his barrel to freeze it solid, preventing dust from flying up when he fired. And most famously, he kept a mouthful of snow in his mouth for hours at a time, just to stop the steam of his breath from rising into the freezing air. He became a statue, a part of the forest. He would lie in the snow for 6, 8, 10 hours, waiting for a single mistake. And when a Soviet officer raised his head, it was already too late. Within weeks, the rumors started spreading through the Soviet ranks like a virus. There was a sniper who couldn't be seen and couldn't be killed. Soldiers were afraid to leave their trenches. Officers were stripping off their rank insignia so they wouldn't be targeted. The morale of the Red Army in that sector began to collapse. Simo wasn't just killing men, he was killing their mind. He would eliminate 5, 10, sometimes 20 soldiers in a single day. The Soviets tried everything. They sent counter-snipers to hunt him down. Simo killed them. They sent patrols to sweep the forest. Simo picked them off one by one and vanished. He was a phantom, and the Red Army was starting to realize that the forest itself was trying to kill them. By January 1940, Simo Häyhä was no longer just a soldier. He was a problem that had reached the highest levels of the Soviet command. The invasion was stalled, and the morale of the troops in the Kala region was shattered. The Russians decided that the White Death had to be eliminated at any cost. They stopped sending infantry patrols to find him. That was just feeding the wolf. Instead, they turned to brute force. When a Soviet observer thought they saw a muzzle flash or a movement in the trees, they didn't fire back with a rifle. They called in heavy artillery. They carpet-bombed entire sections of the forest just to kill one man. Shrapnel tore through the trees. Explosions turned the white snow into gray slush. But every time the smoke cleared, the shooting would start again. Simo was still there. It's a common misconception that Simo only fought from a distance. As the days grew shorter and the fighting became more desperate, the Soviets tried to overrun the Finnish positions with massive human waves. In these chaotic close-quarters battles, Simo put down his bolt-action rifle and picked up his Suomi KP-31 submachine gun. If he was a surgeon with a rifle, he was a butcher with a submachine gun. In the dense forests, where visibility was low, he would mow down advancing squads before they could even raise their weapons. Historians estimate that in addition to his 505 confirmed sniper kills, he killed another 200 men with his submachine gun. We are talking about over 700 confirmed kills by a single man in less than 100 days. That is an average of 7 men every single day, for 3 months straight, in freezing conditions that would kill a normal person by exposure alone. But war is a numbers game, and eventually, the luck runs out. On the morning of March 6, 1940, the Soviets launched a massive assault. The fighting was fierce. Simo was in the thick of it, firing at the advancing waves. But this time, a Soviet soldier got lucky. An exploding bullet-a-band type of ammunition designed to detonate on impact struck Simo in the jaw. The impact was horrific. It tore through his lower face, shattering the bone and destroying tissue. He fell into the snow, unconscious, bleeding out in the middle of a raging battle. His fellow soldiers found him moments later when they dragged his body onto a rescue sled. One of them looked at Simo and famously said, "Half his head is missing." They piled him onto a heap of wounded men, assuming he was already dead or dying. He was left in a coma, his body broken, while the war raged on for one final week. The Soviets had finally done it. The White Death was silenced. The guns of the Red Army could finally push forward without the fear of the invisible ghost in the trees. Or so they thought. Because you can break a man's body, you can shatter his jaw, but you cannot kill a legend that easily. As Simo lay in a coma, drifting between life and death, the war was reaching its end. Peace treaties were being drafted, but Simo had one last surprise for the world. He wasn't done yet. On March 13, 1940, the Winter War officially ended. The treaties were signed, the borders were drawn, and the guns finally fell silent. And on that exact same day, as if guided by fate, Simo Häyhä opened his eyes. He had been unconscious for a week, teetering on the edge of death. He woke up to a world at peace, but his own battle was just beginning. The damage to his face was catastrophic. His jaw was crushed, and his left cheek was almost entirely gone. He would endure 26 agonizing surgeries over several years to reconstruct his face using bone taken from his hip. When he finally looked in the mirror, the face staring back was scarred and twisted, but Simo didn't complain. He didn't ask for pity. He simply accepted it as the cost of doing his duty. Simo lived, in fact. He didn't just survive, he thrived. The man who had eliminated over 700 enemy soldiers returned to his farm. He became a successful moose hunter and a dog breeder. He lived a quiet, humble life in the Finnish countryside, far away from the spotlight. He never bragged about his kills. He never wrote a book to cash in on his fame. To his neighbors, he wasn't the White Death. He was just Simo, the quiet man with the scars. Decades later, in 1998, a journalist finally tracked him down. Simo was an old man by then. The interviewer asked him the question everyone wanted to know: how did you become such a good shooter? Simo looked at him and gave a one-word answer: practice. When asked if he felt regret for all the lives he had taken, his response was equally simple and chillingly pragmatic. I only did what I was told to do, as well as I could. Simo Häyhä died in 2002 at the age of 96. He outlived the Soviet Union itself. He rests in a quiet churchyard in Ruokoloti, Finland. His tombstone doesn't list his kill count. It doesn't mention the terror he caused. It simply marks the resting place of a farmer who loved his country enough to become a monster for 98 days so that his people could remain free. In an age of drones and guided missiles, the story of Simo Häyhä reminds us of a terrifying truth. The most dangerous weapon on a battlefield isn't a tank or a plane. It is a single human being with a rifle, supreme patience, and a reason to fight. If you enjoyed this descent into the frozen history of the Winter War, destroy that like button just like Simo destroyed the Red Army's morale. Subscribe for more stories of the deadliest men and women in history. Until next time, stay frosty.